Welcome to Tapped In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be discussing Positional Playbook and specifically chasing the apex. And what I mean by that is everything that we do, there's like a geometry and a math aspect to it. We don't think about it. We're solely thinking about like athleticism and technique, and we don't equate it to those things. But every sweep we do, every off balance, every form of kazushi, it's all related to the triangle that we're setting up on the ground. That same philosophy and approach is done on the stand-up portion. And we often look at stand-up and the groundwork as two separate arts. And we don't quite understand how the stand-up works because we don't spend enough time there. My opinion is this. Jiu-jitsu is judo when it comes to the art. We come from judo. We are judo. There is no separate art. We are one art, and that is judo. The difference is when we start breaking things down in rule structure. The rules of judo, the Olympic sport, are vastly different than that of the conventional jiu-jitsu sport. And then there's differences from sub only and so on, gi, no gi, and it gets very complicated in that sense. What in terms of trying to understand the stand-up portion, let's start equating some of the stuff that we're seeing from the bottom so that we can understand what our goals should be when it comes to standing. If we're talking, let's say we're doing scissor sweep. When you go into scissor sweep, there's a bottom of the triangle, the base of the triangle ends up being their outside knee in your hip. When you start doing this sweep, you are pulling and kicking them to, let's say I'm on my right hip, to the right, to that empty dead zone, which is going to be the apex of that triangle. So in order to pull off that sweep, I have to make sure that he is unable to post his arm so that he falls into that dead zone and I can come up and take the position. The same will happen if we're doing, let's say, Uchimata. When we get in and we get that, start lifting that leg, the goal is to post them into that dead zone, the apex of the triangle that our feet are making. So if I Uchimata with my right leg, my left leg is planted on the ground. His right leg is planted on the ground. My job is to force him forward. And when I force him forward, I also have to make sure that he's unable to post with a free hand. So when I get that Uchimata and I start really going for it, I have to wrap up the arm, and he's going to end up falling into that dead zone, the apex of the triangle, much like he would with a scissor sweep. That's the stuff we have to start kind of understanding a bit more so that when we look at stand-up, it's not this alien concept. Yes, there are aspects of it that are going to be a bit more complicated because there's more movement going on. There's more footwork. They're balancing, we're rotating, we're stepping in and out. Things that we don't feel as much from the stand-up, the ground portion of jiu-jitsu. It doesn't mean that it's not the same. So start to simplify it, understand the things that you like to do from the ground, and maybe add that to your stand-up portion. If you are, let's say you love collar drags. Beautiful, great example. I have my left hand in the collar. I'm on my right hip. My right hand's on the mat. He's kneeling, maybe even standing. One knee down, both knee downs. Does not matter. My job is to turn and pull myself to the right. So then my left hip is on the ground and I'm pulling and dragging him all the way to the mat with my left hand into the spot that I used to be in. So if he is standing and I'm sitting on my left hip, the base of that triangle is going to be his 2 feet. And my body is going to be the apex. In order to pull this off, I have to pull myself out of position, out of harm's way to the right, and pull him into the spot that I used to be in. The same can be said backwards. If I'm trying to, they're standing the exact same way. Maybe I have collar, maybe I have a hand. It's all the same. And maybe I can't quite get the collar drag. He's anticipating it. He's hand fighting a bit better. We're going to change it up then. my feet hooked behind his ankles, and we're going to shove him backwards, either on the chest, the arms, or the lower leg, just under the knee. Now he has to step backwards, and because my feet are hooked, he's unable to step, and he falls flat on his butt, which is the apex on the backside. So every time he falls, there's a triangle that gets met. And those are the basic ones, forward, backwards. And then we start adjusting. Maybe they are staggered steps, and I'm going to go ankle pick. I'm on my butt. They have the right leg forward, leg back, and maybe I grab cross collar with my right hand. Now I have collar drag to my right, and if maybe he's sitting back because he understands that's a possibility, I have ankle pick towards my left, but his backside. So I have to understand where this shape continually meets to understand where I can drop them or pull them. And once I start to see that, and I can see it in all things, because we're so good on the ground, we genuinely see it on the ground. We see it on the ground all the time. We even when we're not even trying to, we don't even understand what we're seeing, but we understand where we should pull and push and whatnot, especially if you've been in it for a little bit. The other apex that kind of occurs is if you can put their hip over their foot. So let's say they're staggered and not staggered. Both feet are parallel and they're standing right in front of me. If I push him to the left or right along his shoulder, his weight transfers. Let's say I'm pushing from the left side to his right. His weight transfers onto his left foot, which is my right. And when I keep pushing, all of his weight transfers to that foot, and his hip shoulder line are in line with his foot. So now his other foot kind of gets really light, maybe even comes off the mat completely. And I can push him all the way to his right. That also occurs. So there's going to be times when maybe you're doing a single leg and you start pushing and they start hopping because they understand if the foot doesn't move, they're going to get pushed into that apex. And again, the apex, the base of the triangle in that setting is shoulder, hip, foot. And I'm pushing them directly back to the sideways. So as I push them towards their shoulder, they have to now hop. If they don't hop, they fall over. So one thing that some people do is they take that single leg and they start pushing them towards their shoulder, and then they'll lunge and they'll cup the back leg, the leg that they're hopping on, and they end up falling sideways. Those are the things that we start to think about as we get more comfortable and we start understanding the off-balancing, which is kazushi, and that happens standing or kneeling, just on the ground, period. It all happens. It's the act of off-balancing or destroying someone's base. If we're in scissor sweep again, one thing people do is the traditional scissor sweep where the leg is knee shield and it's going to kick over to my right, and my right foot is at the knee line and it's pulling and it creates this scissoring motion. The other version is the knee shield's in place. It's going to start to kick them to the right, but my right foot is on the knee and I stomp the knee out, creating a wider base, eroding his base, and then he falls in the same position. So it's understanding what that kazushi is going to look like at any given moment, removing a possible post, because everywhere they go, most places, their instinct is going to be able to post something. If you don't have a good grip on the hand, they're going to post. If you don't have a good off-balancing technique, let's say you were again in single leg and you're trying to drag them and pull and push and they get to hop, that's a post. You're going to have to get rid of that post, whether it's cupping it, stepping behind it and tripping, or posting your foot in front and then pulling to the front where they can't hop. Your job is going to be having to understand what that next element is in defense of the technique you're trying to do. And the same happens when you're on the ground. When I'm trying to get that scissor sweep, I have to maintain control of the arm or he's going to post. Some people will even post on their head. When you're doing butterfly sweeps, you got that arm. Some people post with that leg, the outside leg, and then some people post with their head, and they just have a beautiful way of blocking that void or the apex that you're trying to get to, and you're going to have to make adjustments for that. Think of things like scissor sweep to a sotogari. Both stagger the base, both create a little bit of an angle. Think wrestling up. Like when you start wrestling up, you're attacking their weakest point, often grabbing one of the legs so they can't post, so they can't rebalance, so they can't create a better base for themselves. Those are things that are going to happen when you're doing butterfly guard again. You're going to have to maintain control of certain posts. Sometimes you sweep, you have control of the arm, they post that leg, and then you're going to have to use your own foot to sweep that out so they don't have a post at all. There's going to be combinations to everything that we do in stand-up or sitting, but it's going to mirror a lot of the same things are. There's going to be forward and backwards, left and right, diagonally. And when we don't understand these things, then people are able to post really, really easily. And it becomes really complicated. We get frustrated and we don't want to do it anymore. But if you're really good on the ground and you understand elements of, maybe I don't have a functioning sweep, but I understand wrestling up because I understand the base that their feet have to make in order to stand in position, then I attack that. And the same can be said for the stand-up portion. I may not have genuinely great stand-up, but if I understand where the feet should and shouldn't be, it gets a little easier. If you're trying to build a stand-up game, my suggestion is having it kind of mirror some of the things you're already doing from the ground. If you're a collar drag, arm drag, and ankle pick type of a person, highly recommend those. Those are universal. You are going to see them standing, kneeling, sitting on your butt. I hit ankle picks and arm drags and collar drags from every position in connection to whether they have both knees on the ground, one knee up, one knee down, whether they're standing over me and I'm sitting, or we're standing. It is the same motion. It is the same concept. It's the same predicament that you're trying to create. So I don't have to learn something new. So if you can learn how to ankle pick from the bottom and start wrestling up, you can do very similarly from stand-up. You don't have to be this Olympic wrestler. You just have to get enough comfortableness in the positions that you're familiar with that you can adapt them to the territory that you are unfamiliar with. So then it bridges some of that gap. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be super over the top. You can even, let's say you're a butterfly guard type of person. You know how to get those underhooks. You're standing in underhook territory, and you get that underhook and you control the arm. You can sit and then immediately sweep just like you would a regular butterfly. Again, we don't have to overly complicate a ton of this. We just have to adapt it so that we can pose some kind of threats so that then we can start getting confidence in what we have to do from standing so it's not an alien concept anymore. Adapt the things that you like doing and throw them into that stand-up. Don't try to if you don't do a whole lot of stand-up and you're not very confident in it, I do not suggest you picking up like this complicated judo, I'm going to do this, then this, and then that. Because it's just not, you're never going to put enough time in to understand it fully and get the timing in. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but if you're a hobbyist and you're not a professional and you got so much else going on and you're trying to develop other aspects of your game, simplify it. Simplify it to, these are the things I do really well from kneeling, from on my butt, from the ground. How do I adapt those to the stand-up without redesigning the wheel? I'm hoping that this makes sense. I'm hoping that this kind of helps understand some things a little bit better about what happens when you're in stand-up. I'm going to incorporate a video into the show notes. I'll probably be releasing that today, and this should be coming out Sunday. If you have any questions, please let me know. DFM.2099 on Instagram and Threads. We also have a free school community, DFM Coaching BJJ. You can either find that in the show notes or go into school.com and kind of just do a quick search. All my workshops are on there, free. We answer questions. I post technique videos. Really, I want this to be something that kind of helps people get better at jiu-jitsu without overcomplicating or investing too much money. Until next time, hopefully this helps. Any questions, please get back to me. Thank you.